Welcome to the final chapter spoilers. I thought I'd do things a little bit differently since, we have the full translation here for once, and it's the actual translator. She's a really good translator, and plus it's the final chapter. Why not show up? It'll be the same vibe. I'll still just be talking, nice music in the background, everything you guys are used to at this point. So, starting off the chapter, they're, still trying to capture the person. Nobara can't really get any clues because she's like, I don't see any seals or anything like that. And Yuji's like, do you think we're in their range right now? And Megumi says it could be possible, but they could also just be very skilled with their cursed energy, allowing them to be anywhere in the city. Megumi's like, this is pretty troublesome. The guy is no rookie. So, Nobara then says, did you ever see his face go back to normal? Like, ever? She's talking to the girl at this point. The girl's still with them. And she says, nope. Maybe when I'm asleep it happens, but Megumi's just like, okay, no, not at all. So we must be dealing with a range of at least 50 meters. We'll say 100 to be safe. So this guy's curse technique is pretty range. Like, it has a lot of range. Have we ever seen a curse technique with that much range except for like Gojo's? Probably not. But then again, it's not really offensive, as we can see. It's just like messing with people's faces. So I guess it makes sense. Anyways, Yuji's like, let's just go to an open field. And Megumi's like, okay, that would work if the person we were dealing with was an idiot. And Yuji's like, are you calling me an idiot? And Nobara chimes in and basically affirms it, like, yeah, he's stupid. So I think they try and test the technique's range by putting the girl on Yuji's back. Excuse me. And having him run 100 meters. So if he runs past 100 meters, the technique could possibly be dispelled. So they're trying to test out the technique's range. And Megumi's like, hold up, this doesn't make sense because we know that the guy won't come after us. He's hiding from us. So after Megumi breaks this down, Yuji's like, okay, so who's the idiot now? And Nobara is like, all right, how about we just send him an all paid expensive trip by car at this point? Like, let's just bribe him. And Megumi says that that might work, but blah blah blah. They're still just talking, trying to figure out what's going on with this cursed user. And eventually Megumi comes up with a 40-floor condo, and this should be able to cover 150 meters. So I believe that they're going to head up and see, like, head upwards 150 meters and see if the technique is still active. And they do it. And Fukuzawa, the girl, says that his face is back to normal. So going over 100 meters cleared the curse technique. And I think Nobara finds the curse user, as you can see in page 6. Let me move my stupid face right here. If you look, I think Nobara found the curse user. And he's like, what the hell? Like, who is this? And then the face goes back to normal. And yeah, they find the curse user and they call it a day. It's like a daily mission, kind of like Mob Psycho. I knew this wasn't going to be anything crazy. Pretty sure I said this last week in either the review or the spoilers. But I knew it. So after they find the curse user, Yuji begins to talk to him. And it just goes into sort of a flashback with Gojo. And it's because Yuji's like, don't look so sad, dude. You're not going to be executed. There's no more higher ups. That was the purpose of 269, by the way. Like, 269 was to show you that the most important parts of the Jujutsu world, like their connections with the government, politics, all that. There's only one true head of a clan, and that's Kusakabe, who heads the new Shadow Clan, which is just as important as the three great clans. Kusakabe pretty much runs Jujutsu Society at this point, and I don't think Kusakabe is going to be executing people like the other three great clans were doing. Anyways, let's get back to this. So we flash back to Gojo and Yuji after Yuji would say, like, nothing's gonna happen to you, dude. And Yuji saying, I thought after Kusakabe I would do switch training with you, Gojo. And Gojo says, I guess that'd be fine, but how do I put this? Haven't we had enough of me? Like, haven't we had enough of me being the strongest? I'm gonna break this down for you guys. This is everything I wanted out of Gojo's character. They get it. If you watch Nobody Understands Gojo, they brought it full circle. So Gojo goes on to say that, Yuji, I need you to be a little bit more forward thinking. Sure, there's a dream I want you to carry on in my wake should anything happen to me, but if this is where I bow out, if Gojo Satoru's done here, there needs to be one of you guys who forgets about me and develops a kind of strength that is different from my own. And Yuji's like, none of us could ever forget you, dude. You seem kind of out of character, or you're sounding a little bit timid. Are you okay? And Gojo's like, you're such a kid, man. This is confidence. Like, I've never had this confidence before, and I'm expecting great things from you. You got that? So, to understand here, this is talking about one, Yuji's empathy, and also the fact that if you remember at the beginning of the story when Yuji was getting trained by Gojo, the one and only time we've seen this happen, I think this is why we're seeing them train again here. Yuji would tell Gojo that, like, Gojo, I want to become like you. I want to be the strongest. And after everything that's happened in the point we're at before we would fight Sukuna, Gojo would look at Yuji and say, like, my strength isn't the answer. The way only he obviously did not see Yuji beat Sukuna, but he's saying, if I bowed out here and if I were done, like, you're gonna have to beat Sukuna some way, somehow. This isn't literally what he's saying, but I'm getting to the idea of what he's saying. And oh, my voice cracked. Gojo's saying that, like, Yuji, through his compassion, his empathy, and how he connects with others, and how he relies on others, something that Gojo can never do because his strength isolated him from others, is what he wants Yuji to look toward. He wants Yuji to redefine strength. In a way, this is a soft confirmation that Yuji will never reach the individual power of Gojo, but Gojo wants Yuji to reach his strength through a different way, you know, working with others. He wants all of his students to walk alongside one another. This is exactly what he's meant. This is the future that he's always wanted. I think that, and we see that obviously Yuji has fulfilled this, right? Like, he defeated Sukuna thanks to not only Gojo's help, but the help of everybody around him. Had any single one of those characters not been present during the fight, Yuji would have missed a black flash here. Yuji wouldn't have enough time to recover there. Every single step of the way, every single character contributed, like, they were essential. It's like perfect. Sorry, something came up, but yeah, you get what I'm saying. Like, it's genuinely, it really came full circle. Gojo truly got his dream of creating a generation that can walk alongside one another, and his strength won't be replicated. Nobody's gonna become so strong that they're gonna be alone and they'll, you know, face the same solitude that Gojo had. He wanted to redefine that. He never wanted that to happen to anybody again. He never wanted anybody to experience that again. And there were a lot of people on Twitter who saw the 5 out of 20 untranslated pages of untranslated and came to the conclusion that Gege abandoned Gojo, and that's not what happened, gang. Like, Gege allowed Gojo to be the only sorcerer in history to die without regrets. He'd allowed Gojo to have a warrior's death, something he'd prefer over a happy, peaceful death. That's just his preference. He allowed Gojo to only be defeated by a technique that transcends Jujutsu itself. I think that Gojo got way more than any other character in the series, more than a character should ever get in a shonen series. He's got, like, protagonist levels of love, and I think this final note here is a love letter to Gojo from Gege himself, basically saying that, like, bro, like, you made me, gang. Like, I ain't gonna sit here and lie. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen's popularity was, I personally think it was carried by Gojo, and then, you know, like, all the other stuff of Jujutsu Kaisen just propelled it further. Like, people really said, like, oh, there's more than Gojo. There's a beautiful cast, a good story, all the, you know what I'm saying? But Gojo put Gege on, not the other way around. You get what I'm saying? It's really good. I advise people to reread the story after this. I'm gonna tell you guys to do this again because of another moment that comes after this. So Yuji acknowledges that the guy messed up, but he says, take some time to reflect and then come join us. Come help us on the next mission because I'm expecting great things from you. And mind you, this is after the guy said, like, I don't know how to communicate properly. What are you people gonna do with me? I can't even, like, he's basically saying, like, I'm a reject. And Yuji accepts him. He says, like, I'm expecting good things from you, man. Like, come with us. We'll work things out. He finally saved Jutbei, I guess. That was my fault. But Going on, Nobara says, what did you do with that thing? Yuji says, I tossed it. And Nobara says, what? It'll be fine. Not like it's anything dangerous anymore. It should be the perfect talisman now. Megumi's like, come on, what are you doing? But Yuji's like, chill. It's all good. And this is the page with Sukuna's finger. Like, and this is a little bit funny and ironic because Sukuna would say, I think 57 chapters ago, Sukuna would utter the quote of, you people are weak and deserve to die, and like, you deserve to live a miserable life because you're weak. Sukuna's final, like, last pieces of himself is what's single-handedly protecting the entire world from the pure bears going down and cursed spirits ravaging the entire world. It's ironic. Like, that's the kind of pathetic fate he deserved. But we move on from that. I think it's just a funny piece of irony. And we finally see Mahito. Mahito gets the grand final line of the series. And he says to Sukuna, howdy, who would have thought I'd ever see you here? And Sukuna's like, man, what's this, our second conversation? Mahito's like, well, my technique directly affects the soul, so consider this a vestige. Welcome to the pathway of the souls that walk on their way down the cycle. But I meant to ask you, right? Apparently Mahito saw everything and said you were lying to yourself and others. You weren't living according to your stature. This is a reference to Kashimo. You wanted revenge. Revenge against those who resented and persecuted that cursed, unwanted little wretch. And Sukuna says, what's the difference? Living the only way I knew how, that's how I chose to go on. No, I did have different paths to walk. 2, to be precise. And yet, I couldn't help but spit out the curses stirring deep within my viscera. I feared my own curse would immolate me. Should there be a next time, perhaps it would be nice to walk down a different path. This is a clear reference to YUJI, who was not exactly like Sukuna, okay? They had different origins, and YUJI openly acknowledged that, like, Sukuna really had no other way. YUJI openly acknowledges that, like, yeah, this guy here, like, he was predestined to be screwed. He was predestined to be this big, evil, masochistic, sociopathic figure in Jujutsu society. There was never any helping him, but I have to still extend him that hand regardless. But YUJI extending that hand to Sukuna has actually affected him, and you gotta remember, Sukuna and YUJI were clashing ideals. In chapter 248, he would say something like, this guy, like, remember he was just sitting there like, wow, YUJI's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, but while he was thinking all that, his ideals were shaken. He understood that YUJI's path, the path that he thought was so pathetic and boring, had actually reached him. And here, since Sukuna lost to YUJI and all those who helped YUJI along the way, he's seen YUJI's strength. He sees that YUJI, through his friends and endlessly walking forward, has been able to match and overcome him. So he finally acknowledges YUJI in his path and says that, like, I could have went down YUJI's path all along. He doesn't say it in like a regretful, well, he seems to regret a bit, but it's more so that, like, if I could try again, I'll try YUJI's way. But you gotta remember, YUJI was the modern day Sukuna. If you look back at all his flashbacks, he could do literally anything he wanted as what he was in the normal world. He was the Sukuna where he could be a pro athlete, he could be the greatest fighter. YUJI could have been on top of humanity with ease, but he chose the path that he did in becoming a Jujutsu sorcerer. They were very similar, and I think this is a great ending. I really do, because this was foreshadowed in 248 when he was saying that, like, this kid and his ideals have actually been able to reach and contest me. Another thing about this little moment here is that Sukuna, you need to really reread the story with Sukuna, because this whole revenge thing and the exact line Mahito uses here is the exact line that Sukuna would say to Kashimo, and Kashimo asked how he obtained his strength. So this may be suggesting that Sukuna I once believed that Sukuna just was telling Kashimo that his past didn't matter. But it's more so, the truth behind this is that Sukuna's revenge burned deep in his soul and guided him to the strength that he was at. So let's finish the chapter. Sukuna says, Should there be a next time, it would be nice to walk down a different path. And Mahito says, that's so boring, you've gone soft. And Sukuna says, obviously, I lost after all. And again, this is him acknowledging Yuji. And Mahito's like, what the, I'm the only one sulking like a child? Damn! And the story ends. And I think Mahito's character ended perfectly. The reason why I say his character ended perfectly now is because Mahito was thrown out because he was going to reach a very high level of strength at some point, and he would have been able to read Sukuna's soul in like a month's time in Jujutsu Kaisen. This here explains why Mahito had to be thrown out, because one, he's a curse. Once Yuji got over their conflict, he was done. There's no more for him. Curses don't change, their nature will always remain the same. And he also could have read Sukuna's soul had he gotten the chance, and he would have basically spoiled this the whole time for us. Like, Sukuna deep down inside had been doing this for revenge against the world that casted him aside without any chance. It's exactly like Muzan's, by the way. Muzan's, but you know, they're different characters a little bit, but this is the same origin as Muzan. With that said, that is the entire chapter. Thank you so much, guys, for sticking all the way with me. It means a lot. Like, yo, I cannot articulate how grateful I am for all of you guys and your support throughout all this time. And I heavily suggest to reread the story, because all of this stuff is stuff that comes full circle. You guys know I be remembering Jujutsu Kaisen off the top of my head. I love this story. So all this stuff is clicking. It's all full circle. It's great. And Mahito having the last line of the series is like, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not messing with that, but what am I gonna do? Peace out, guys. I'll see y'all in the review. Peace.